The question hung in the air between us, innocent yet devastating. My 12-year-old daughter Lily looked up at me with her mother's eyes, waiting for an answer I couldn't give. "Dad, why don't you ever have a girlfriend?" How could I tell her that every woman I met was measured against the impossible standard of the love I still carried for her? That every potential relationship withered because my heart refused to move on from being her father, just her father, giving her the stability she deserved after losing her mother? Some truths are too heavy for young shoulders, so I simply smiled and changed the subject. But the question lingered, as persistent as the love that kept me silent. If you've ever had to hide your feelings to protect someone you love, please hit that like button. And if you want more stories that explore the complicated, beautiful mess of family relationships, subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything. The morning routine in our small two-bedroom apartment had become a well-choreographed dance over the years. I woke at 5:30, showered quickly, and had breakfast ready by the time Lily's alarm went off at 6:15. She'd emerge from her room with her chestnut hair tangled from sleep, looking more like her mother every day. "Morning, sunshine," I called out, sliding a plate of French toast across the counter. "Sleep okay?" Lily grunted something unintelligible and reached for the maple syrup. At 12, she was teetering on the edge of adolescence, some days my sweet little girl and others a mysterious creature I barely recognized. "Dad, Olivia's having a sleepover Friday night. Can I go?" I poured myself coffee, buying time. Olivia's mother, Rebecca, was divorced like me, and I'd caught her looking at me with interest during school functions. The last parent-teacher conference had ended with her suggesting coffee sometime. I'd fumbled an excuse about my busy schedule. "Sure, honey. I'll drop you off after work." Lily's face brightened. "Thanks. Her mom said she'd drive me home Saturday." I nodded, already dreading the inevitable small talk with Rebecca, the polite deflection of whatever invitation might come my way. It wasn't that Rebecca wasn't lovely, she was kind, intelligent, and by any objective measure, beautiful. But whenever any woman showed interest, I felt the same suffocating panic, the same certainty that pursuing anything would somehow betray both Lily and the memory of her mother. After dropping Lily at school, I drove to the architectural firm where I'd worked since before she was born. My colleague Marcus caught me in the break room, pouring a second cup of coffee. "You look like hell, James," he said, leaning against the counter. "Rough night?" I shrugged. "Lily's hitting that age where everything's complicated." "Tell me about it." "My son asked for cologne yesterday. He's 10. Marcus stirred creamer into his mug. "Hey, speaking of complicated, Diane in accounting was asking about you again." I felt the familiar tightness in my chest. "Marcus." I know. But it's been 7 years, man. Melissa would want you to be happy." The mention of my late wife's name still had the power to knock the wind out of me. 7 years since the drunk driver had taken her from us, leaving me to raise our 5-year-old daughter alone. 7 years of first days of school, skinned knees, nightmares, and milestones that Melissa should have been there for. "I am happy," I said, the lie so practiced it almost sounded true. "Lily's my priority." Marcus gave me a look that said he wasn't buying it but was too good a friend to push. "Whatever you say. Just don't use that kid as an excuse to stop living." His words followed me back to my desk, where I buried myself in blueprints and specifications, letting the precise lines and measurements crowd out more complicated thoughts. Friday arrived, and I found myself standing on Rebecca's doorstep, Lily's overnight bag in one hand. "James. Come in," Rebecca greeted me warmly. "The girls are upstairs setting up the blanket fort. Can I get you something to drink?" I just opened a bottle of wine. I stepped inside, careful to maintain a friendly but distant demeanor. "Thanks, but I can't stay. I have some work to catch up on." Rebecca's smile dimmed slightly. "Another time, then. Though all work and no play, you know." "Dad." Lily appeared at the top of the stairs. "You can go now." I laughed, grateful for the interruption. "Well, I've been dismissed. Thanks for having her, Rebecca." "Anytime." "And James?" She touched my arm lightly. "The offer stands. You deserve a night off sometimes." I nodded, mumbled something non-committal, and escaped to my car. The evening stretched before me, empty and quiet. I should have welcomed the break. Time to myself was rare, but instead, I felt the familiar hollowness that came whenever Lily was away. At home, I heated up leftover pasta and settled on the couch with a documentary I'd been wanting to watch. But my mind kept drifting to Rebecca's invitation, to Marcus's comments, to the question Lily had asked me weeks ago that I still hadn't properly answered. "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" The truth was complicated. After Melissa died, there had been a period of such profound grief that the idea of ever loving anyone else seemed impossible. But as the years passed, it wasn't just Melissa's memory keeping me isolated. It was fear of disrupting the delicate balance Lily and I had established, fear of introducing change into her life when she'd already lost so much, fear that loving someone new would somehow diminish what Melissa and I had shared. And beneath all that was a deeper truth I could barely admit to myself: Lily had become my entire world. Every decision I made, every hour I spent, revolved around being the best father I could be to her. The thought of dividing that attention, of creating space in our lives for someone else, felt like a betrayal of the silent promise I'd made to my daughter the night her mother died, that she would always come first, always be enough. I fell asleep on the couch, the documentary still playing, and dreamed of Melissa. In the dream, she was shaking her head at me, laughing in that way she had when she thought I was being particularly stubborn. "James," she said, "you always did have a talent for complicating the simple things." Saturday morning, I woke with a crick in my neck and the unsettling feeling the dream had left behind. I made coffee and was contemplating a run when my phone rang. It was Rebecca. "James? I'm so sorry to bother you, but Lily's not feeling well. She's asking for you." I was already grabbing my keys. "What's wrong? Is she sick?" "She says her stomach hurts. No fever, but she's pretty miserable. The other girls are still sleeping, so I think she just wants to go home." 20 minutes later, I was helping a pale-faced Lily into the car. Rebecca stood in the doorway, concern etched on her face. "Thanks for taking care of her," I said. "Of course. I hope she feels better soon." Rebecca hesitated. "And James? The invitation for that drink still stands." "No pressure." I nodded, focusing on getting Lily settled. In the car, she leaned her head against the window, unusually quiet. "Real stomach ache or homesick?" I asked gently. Lily shrugged. "Both, I guess." I woke up feeling weird. "Weird how?" She was quiet for so long I thought she might not answer. "I had a dream about Mom," she finally said. I couldn't remember what her voice sounded like. The admission hit me like a physical blow. Lily had been so young when Melissa died. Of course her memories would fade. I'd kept photos around the house, told stories, but I'd never considered that the sensory memories, the sound of her mother's laugh, the smell of her perfume, might slip away. "She had a beautiful voice," I said, my own voice rough. Not for singing, she was terrible at that. But when she talked, it was like warm honey. Smooth and sweet. She used to read to you every night, even when you were a baby. Said you were her best audience. Lily turned to look at me, her eyes, so like her mother's, wide and serious. "Do you miss her all the time?" "Every day," I admitted. But not in the same way I did at first. Now it's quieter. "Is that why you don't date? Because you miss Mom?" There it was again, the question I couldn't fully answer. I kept my eyes on the road. "That's part of it." "What's the other part?" I glanced at her, this perceptive child who saw more than I gave her credit for. The other part is complicated, Lil. I'm not a baby, Dad. I can handle complicated. We were almost home. I pulled into our parking spot and turned off the engine but made no move to get out of the car. This felt like a moment that needed its own space. After your mom died, my whole world became about taking care of you, I began carefully. Making sure you were okay, that you felt safe and loved. And somewhere along the way, I think I convinced myself that bringing someone new into our lives would mess that up somehow. Lily was watching me intently. Because you thought I wouldn't like it? Maybe. Or because I was afraid of change. Or because... I hesitated, then decided she deserved the whole truth. Because being your dad became my whole identity. I didn't know how to be anything else anymore. That's stupid, Lily said, but her tone was gentle. You're lots of things. You're an architect. You make terrible jokes. You can fix almost anything. You're really bad at video games but you play them with me anyway. I laughed, surprised. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just weren't paying attention. She unbuckled her seatbelt. Dad? I think Mom would want you to be happy. And I want that too. The simplicity of her statement, delivered with such certainty, left me speechless. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of unspoken grief and love filling the space between us. I know, I finally said. I'm working on it. That night, after Lily had gone to bed, I found myself looking at old photos. There was Melissa on our wedding day, radiant in a simple white dress. Melissa in the hospital, exhausted but triumphant, holding newborn Lily. The three of us at the beach, Lily toddling between us, each of us holding one tiny hand. I'd preserved these memories like artifacts in a museum, precious but untouchable. Somewhere along the way, I'd confused honoring Melissa's memory with living in the past. My phone sat on the coffee table. I picked it up, scrolled to Rebecca's number, and before I could talk myself out of it, typed a message, about that drink. I'm free next Friday if the offer still stands. Her response came almost immediately, it stands. 7 p.m. I typed back a confirmation, feeling a strange mixture of terror and exhilaration. It wasn't a declaration of love or even a promise of anything beyond one evening of adult conversation. But it was a step, a small one, perhaps, but in a direction I hadn't allowed myself to move in for 7 years. The next morning, I made pancakes, Lily's favorite weekend breakfast. As she drowsily made her way to the kitchen, I slid a plate in front of her. Feeling better today? She nodded, drowning her pancakes in syrup. Much. What are we doing today? I thought we might go through some of the old home videos. There are a lot from when you were little, with your mom. I haven't watched them in a long time. Lily looked up, surprised. Really? How come? I sat down across from her with my own breakfast. I thought it might be too hard. But I think it's time. You should be able to hear your mom's voice, see how she moved, remember all the parts of her I can't describe. Can we do that now? Finish your breakfast first, I said, but I was already mentally preparing myself for the emotional journey ahead. We spent the day on the couch, watching video after video. Melissa singing off-key lullabies to infant Lily. Melissa chasing toddler Lily through a sprinkler. Melissa helping 4-year-old Lily bake cookies, both of them covered in flour. I watched my daughter's face as she absorbed these moving, speaking images of the mother she'd lost, filling in the sensory gaps in her memories. And I watched myself in these videos, younger, less careworn, but recognizably me. A man who was a husband as well as a father. A man who laughed easily and loved openly. A man I had somehow lost touch with in the years since. She was really pretty, Lily said during one clip. And funny. I didn't remember she was so funny. She was the funniest person I knew, I agreed. She could always make me laugh, even when I was determined to stay grumpy. You look happy. Both of you. We were. I put my arm around Lily's shoulders. Very happy. Lily leaned against me. I think she'd be mad at you, you know. What? Why? For turning into such a hermit. Lily gestured at the screen where Melissa was now trying to convince me to dance with her in our kitchen. She liked having fun. She wouldn't want you to stop having fun just because she's gone. Out of the mouths of babes. I hugged Lily closer. When did you get so smart? I told you. I've always been smart. She looked up at me. Are you going to ask Ms. Rebecca out? She likes you. It's super obvious. I nearly choked. What makes you say that? Dad. She's always finding reasons to talk to you at school stuff. And she wears lipstick when she knows she's going to see you. You notice too much, I muttered. But as a matter of fact, I am having a drink with her on Friday. Just as friends, I added hastily. Lily rolled her eyes. Sure, Dad. Whatever you say. Would that be okay with you? If it ever became more than friends? She considered this seriously. I like Ms. Rebecca. She's nice, and she doesn't talk to me like I'm a baby. And Olivia's cool. She shrugged. I just want you to be happy, Dad. Like you were with Mom. I felt a lump form in my throat. I don't know if I'll ever be exactly like that again, Lil. What your mom and I had was special. I know. But maybe you could find a different kind of special. Mom would want that. I looked at the screen where Melissa was now laughing, her head thrown back, her whole face alight with joy. Yes, I thought. She absolutely would. Friday evening arrived with a flurry of nervous energy I hadn't felt in years. I changed shirts twice, settled on a blue button-down Lily assured me didn't make me look like an old man, and found myself standing in front of the mirror wondering if I remembered how to have a normal conversation with a woman who wasn't the parent of one of Lily's friends. Lily was spending the evening with my sister, who had been delighted, perhaps too delighted, to hear I had a date. It's not a date, I'd insisted. Just drinks with a friend. Neither my sister nor my daughter had bothered to hide their skepticism. The bar Rebecca had suggested was quiet and comfortable, with low lighting and private booths. She was already there when I arrived, wearing a simple black dress that made my heart do an unexpected flip in my chest. You came, she said, smiling as I slid into the booth across from her. I half expected a last-minute work emergency. No emergencies, I promised. Though I did have to pass a rigorous inspection from my daughter before I was allowed to leave the house. Rebecca laughed. Olivia's the same way. She told me my first outfit choice made me look like I was trying too hard. Kids, I said, shaking my head. When did they become the adults? Somewhere between us not looking when they grew 6 inches and them learning to roll their eyes at everything we say. The conversation flowed easily after that. We talked about our children, of course, but also about our work, our hobbies, books we'd read, places we'd traveled. I found myself laughing more than I had in years, relaxing into the simple pleasure of adult company. Can I ask you something personal? Rebecca said after our second drink. You don't have to answer. I nodded, though I felt a flicker of apprehension. Olivia mentioned that Lily's mother passed away. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you, I said automatically. It was 7 years ago. Rebecca nodded. That's a long time to be on your own. It wasn't quite a question.